Let's be real for a second. We have literally all been there. You're staring at a brand new group project assignment, and you just feel that familiar, horrible knot of dread in your stomach. You're sitting there wondering, okay, who's actually going to end up doing all the work this time? Whether it's a college presentation, planning a community event, or tackling some massive, complex problem at work, group discussions can often feel completely chaotic, unproductive, or just, plain awkward. But, and this is a big but, what if it didn't actually have to be that way? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're totally transforming the way you approach teamwork. Think of this as your ultimate survival guide. We're going to break down the complete life cycle of an idea, handing you the exact psychological tools you need to communicate effectively, be heard, and navigate all those tricky discussions without any of the usual drama.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We'll be covering the blueprint, mastering active listening, pitching constructive suggestions, navigating pushback, and finally, the communication toolkit. Section 1, the blueprint.
So, what really makes a group discussion effective? Seriously, think back to your own past meetings, the complete disasters and the rare successes. Have you ever sat in a room where literally everyone is talking, but nobody is actually communicating? It's the worst, right? A real group discussion is simply a conversation where a few people exchange ideas, opinions, and information to solve a problem or make a decision. But effectiveness? That's the secret sauce. Effectiveness is what separates a wildly frustrating hour of people just talking over each other from an actual breakthrough moment. The source material gives us these 5 absolute core pillars for an effective discussion. We've got active listening, clear communication, respect for others' opinions, constructive feedback, and teamwork. And listen, it doesn't matter if you're designing a new tech product, arguing over an academic assignment, or trying to solve some high-stakes workplace crisis, these 5 requirements are completely non-negotiable. Without them, your ideas simply won't survive the meeting room.
Moving on to Section 2, mastering active listening.
Okay, so the major difference between just passively hearing someone's voice and actively listening to them lies entirely in this one crucial detail: understanding the message before responding. And honestly, so many of us are guilty of this. We listen just to formulate our next reply. We're just waiting for our turn to speak. Active listening means you are intentionally pausing your own agenda to genuinely absorb the speaker's main ideas, their suggestions, and the problems they're highlighting.
And this brilliantly illustrates how listening isn't just sitting there quietly, it's actually a 3-step action process. First up, you pay attention. That means focusing completely on the speaker and refusing to interrupt. Second, you identify key information. You're basically playing mental detective, scanning for their main idea or the specific reasons they're bringing up. And third, you ask for clarification. If something's even a little unclear, you jump in with, "Hey, could you explain that a bit further?" Or, "Can you give an example?" Active listeners are engaged, right? They aren't just passive tape recorders.
Section 3, pitching constructive suggestions.
A suggestion isn't a command. It is an offering. It's simply an idea or recommendation to solve a problem or improve a situation. And honestly, how you phrase this is everything. If you come in hot and aggressive, people instantly get defensive. But when you use polite, professional expressions, things like "I recommend that we" or "we could consider," you do something incredibly powerful. You keep the floor completely open. You're inviting collaboration instead of just demanding compliance. Let's look at a concrete, real-world example straight from our source material about students looking to improve their communication skills. By simply saying, "I suggest that we practice speaking English every week," the speaker provides a really clear, actionable idea. And notice how this doesn't sound bossy at all. It's direct, it's polite, and it places a constructive pitch right in the center of the group for everyone to consider. And here is the absolute magic of a well-pitched suggestion. It naturally invites other people to build on it. Look at how beautifully a team member can respond here. Saying "that is a good idea" acts as this polite, validating agreement, which is then immediately followed by an additive suggestion. "We could also join an English-speaking club." Boom. That initial seed has just sprouted into an even stronger, highly collaborative plan. That is teamwork right there in action. Which brings us to Section 4, navigating pushback. So pushback usually rears its head in the form of a counter-suggestion. And it is so vital to remember here that counter-suggestions are not personal attacks. They just aren't. They are simply alternative routes to achieving the exact same goal. When someone comes to the table with another opinion or solution, treat it as an opportunity to refine the master plan, not an invitation to start a screaming match. If there is literally only one thing you take away for your next project planning meeting, it should be this. Mentally bookmark this exact 3-step formula for making a counter-suggestion. First, you always acknowledge the previous idea. Second, you gently give your alternative. And third, you clearly explain your reason. Sticking to this formula ensures you can smoothly pivot away from a terrible idea without bruising anyone's fragile ego.
Now, what's really interesting about this example is seeing that formula executed to utter perfection. Imagine a student just suggested printing out physical posters for an upcoming event. The respondent chimes in and says, "That is a good idea. However, we could also promote it through social media because you can reach more students." Notice that? They validate the first person, they pivot incredibly smoothly to the social media alternative, and they justify it with solid logic. Absolutely no conflict, just a much better strategy.
But of course, sometimes you just flat out disagree. When disagreeing courteously, the golden rule is to focus strictly on the idea, never the person. Look at the stark difference between these two approaches. Saying your idea is wrong is toxic. It instantly creates a hostile, defensive environment. But when you use phrases like, "I understand your opinion, but I have a different view," you maintain that baseline of respect and keep the whole discussion moving forward productively. It's a game changer. All right, our final stop, Section 5. The Communication Toolkit. I want you to take a mental screenshot of this toolkit. Seriously. These are the exact phrases that diffuse tension and organize absolute chaos. Need to give a suggestion? Say, "I suggest that." Need to agree? Explain exactly why by saying, "I agree with you because." Disagreeing? Soften the blow with, "I understand your point, but." And if you need clarity, just ask, "Could you explain more?" Relying on these structural expressions just completely strips the raw emotion and guesswork out of group dynamics. So, the crucial point is this. The entire life cycle of a successful idea relies on these core takeaways. It starts with listening carefully, way before you ever open your mouth. It requires sharing your thoughts clearly and pitching truly useful suggestions. It demands a solid baseline of respecting different opinions. And honestly, it hinges entirely on your ability to agree and disagree politely. Master these things, and you literally master the room. We are going to wrap up this explainer with this fundamental truth. Good communication helps teams make better decisions and solve problems effectively. It sounds super simple, I know, but it is unbelievably powerful in practice. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Think about the absolute most difficult team project you have coming up. How drastically would the outcome, and let's be real, your own stress levels, change if you walked into that room and actually deployed these exact active listening and polite counter-suggestion skills? The blueprint is right there in your hands. Now it's time to actually use it.